Okay, YouTube. If any of you follow my videos, you might have noticed a trend of me being in a Mopar junkyard. Well, I need a way to run all those cars out there. And, well, every car wants a different fuel pressure. Holley double pumpers want something different than a stock single barrel or two barrel Mopar. Fords want different. There's fuel injected cars, and heck, they're all over the place. But the point is, I needed a way to get fuel to these cars, of course bypassing their old rotted tanks, at different pressures without using electricity. So I came up with this. I don't know what to call it other than a variable pressure fuel cell. Essentially, it's two fire extinguishers. The larger of the two for air, the smaller of the two for gasoline. Go online. These things say that they're good for about 400 pounds. I've tested this to 150 pounds and it hasn't killed me yet. So, of course, all that needs a sight, but, you know, I've had luck with it up to 150 pounds so far, and that's plenty enough for my applications. This side's air, gas, Schrader valve in the top here. This is for filling. You can use a hand pump or a compressor. Hand pumps are only if you're really desperate. That's just a handle to carry it. Master valve, this cuts the air on and off to the fuel side. It's closed right now. The regulator, this lets me regulate the fuel pressure just by regulating the air pressure, and you know, everything should, if I logicked correctly, equal out, because gases and whatnot are going to want to push out equally in all directions, so it's going to push the fuel at the same pressure the air is regulated to. I need a better gauge on this because this one goes to 200 pounds and I really don't need something this wide of a scale. I need like probably to about 70 pounds, maybe 60, so I could go and power some fuel injected cars get up there in the 55 PSI range, but that's pretty rare. Comes over here. These are horrible welds, I know, but I had to make them airtight, so that's why there's so much material there. And that's all I could do with flux core. There's a pipe, bit of brake line that it runs down from this plug. It's welded in and runs down to the bottom of this tank. It's sitting off by about a 1/16, maybe an 1/8 of an inch if my measurements were at least halfway decent. So when this compresses, the fuel has nowhere to go but up the pipe, like the Fat Boy and Willy Wonka. Comes up the pipe, comes out here into a fuel filter off of a Ford, comes down, and you plug this into the car. I need about 5 feet of fuel line I want to replace this little bit with, so I can coil it up and set this beside the car. It's mounted on some Mopar pulleys. Those are probably fan pulleys. They're the deep dish style. I don't know what engine they're off of. I would assume a 318 just because that's what they're the most of them out there. Only other thing to mention is this. This ball valve is how you fill the tank. It's not the best system because it does gurgle as the air has to be displaced, but it's not worth me putting in a breather. Then I would have to buy another $12 valve to shut that breather. It's just not worth it. I can fill it slowly. So open this up, put the fuel in, you're good to go. So this holds half a gallon of fuel. This has 100 pounds of air in it currently. And it is a little bit finicky to get it going, especially since I don't have a carburetor on it that then is going to give me, right now it's just free-flowing, so it's always going to register at a pound, but when I plugged it into fittings before and restrict the fuel, you know, the float bowl fills up and then cuts off the fuel, it's giving me a consistent pressure, so just thought I would show it off. But crack the fuel regulators off, turn the air on, ball valve shut. Alright. There is half a gallon of fuel in it currently. So back it down now that I've got it flowing. And I can get a nice steady and slow stream. I mean, that's not much gas at all coming out of there. So you can get some nice low pressures with it if you want. And then you could be stupid and do something like this. I mean, that's more than I'll ever use. Bring it right back down. And that was the half a gallon. Half a gallon isn't a ton of fuel, but it's enough to do what I need. Just test and see if the cars are going to run, and then once they do run, hook up a proper fuel tank and go out on your merry way. But this is what I came up with. If anybody else wants to build one, you know, feel free. Steal the plans. It's not the smallest thing, but it is mobile. Just pick it up and carry it to the next car. Hoping to run that laser off of it, the 85 laser turbo, this weekend, but I got to get more fuel line. And the only other things I would do to this if you were to build it, and I just haven't gotten around to it, I want a separate pressure gauge with a 200 psi scale on this side so that I can check the pressure without having to put a tire valve on it. I want a pressure gauge going up to about 60 pounds on this side so that I can see the pressure independently of the regulator, and I want to replace this with a better scale. Also, make some adapter to make this bigger just so I don't need a funnel every time I want to fill it. And the biggest thing I want to do to it is I want to have a T down here. Well, this is 3/8 fuel line, if you're wondering. I want to have a T so it branches off into 2 fuel lines. Both of them will have a ball valve on each one. This fuel line currently, pretend it's about 5 feet long and is sitting somewhere over there. It would plug into the carburetor, or, you know, throttle body. That's off of an 87 Escort. You know, cut the line, plug it in. And then for those stubborn cars that maybe the float isn't working and it's not going to fill up, but you still want to see if it would work, you could leave the fuel plugged up to the carburetor. Fine and dandy. The second hose would be a little bit shorter, and it would have something similar to an air gun. I think I have an air gun over here. Yeah, have something similar to an air gun on it. So what you could do with this one is come up to the carburetor. I'm just going to pretend that's a carburetor, even though it's a throttle body, and take you and just go pop, pop, squirt some fuel in, go in there, crank it over, see if it wants to fire. If it keeps firing, squirt more fuel in, and that'd be really nice because I've been working on a lot of cars and a lot of different cars, and they just all want different things, and this is just meant to simplify it. But yeah, just a quick little video of a project I've been working on. Next project is to do with all that metal, is to turn that old air compressor, those 2 Mopar AC compressors. I have a dual piston York and this other style. They're square. They look like the compressors on V8 Gremlins, and that mower into a nice gas-powered air compressor to take out there. And only other project has been this, but you'll see a video about this soon enough. So I'm going to keep that a secret. But yes, that is it for today, YouTube.